Hi, everybody. It's great to see you all. Boy, there's a lot of people on the call today. Um, Lots to talk about, and I apologize. The minutes, which um, share my screen. There it is. The minutes. I don't have. I did not update the minutes, or rather, I have succumbed to yet again thinking that I've updated something and then not hitting the button and it not updating. So I'll go through the agenda this morning. It's not complicated, and I see that there are no suggestions for agenda additions, other than Bill. I think you're ready this week, yes? Or did you want? Or did I see a that you wanted to push to the following?
We have a conflict this week. The soonest we can do is 2 weeks from now. We have a conference presentation at the moment.
Understood. And apologies again for last time not getting you on there properly. But hopefully, so this news will wait. Correct? Maybe you can, Bill, if there's any information that you can link people to, if there is anything, then that'd be interesting for folks.
Yeah, we'll be rolling it all out at once.
I see. No worries. Okay. Any so Kyle, I think, actually, I see Brian on. Brian, do the maintainers have news? I know you have one piece of news about a new maintainer. Sorry, Brian. Brian may be on mute. Kyle, you want to pick that?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we have. I think wasn't it announced last week? What's the news? Is this the new Anais is now a maintainer? Is that the news?
That is the news.
Okay.
Everyone, please golf clap for Anais O'Frank, the newest maintainer on the maintainer team. I see the hands going up. Awesome. We're really excited about that. Anais has been an amazing contributor and has a pretty good story about how she became one. So pull her aside and ask her about that sometime. Kyle, I know we talked about this about an hour ago. Do you have any other issues to bring up for maintainers, or Brian?
Nope, not currently. We need to extend the reach and bring some more maintainers to the table, but otherwise, no issues.
Okay. I think we're batting 1,000. You guys are far too well organized and nice to each other. You're giving us nothing to do as a technical steering committee. We're supposed to be resolving disputes, and you have no disputes. So shame on you.
We just like each other. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, and I'll echo this for all you folks out there, especially those who are in leadership positions in large companies. This is definitely the time. There's some big companies that have now done this. They've made it safe for their employees to participate. They've signed ECLAs. They have communicated to their engineering and architecture teams that they can contribute in this, and it would be very good to let your engineering communities and your companies know about the baseline protocol. We're happy to do events. We've already done several, and there's a whole bunch of people that can do those events now too. So it's not a small group, and get people educated and up to speed and contributing. So it'd be great to see more contributors from those companies. Anything else from the maintainers before we move on? Okay, so the agenda today is going to be largely dominated then by the summit. Hopefully everybody here has heard about and is anticipating the Thursday summit, and hopefully has registered for it, or at least has told their community to register for it. Any questions about it so far? We're going to tee up several people who are running tracks. We're going to show you the conference floor, as it were. And we're going to go into some other things like that. Okay. Mark Haddle, would you like to give us a quick overview? And I'll take the liberty of sharing screen and showing people what they're looking forward to. Hey, Mark, are you there? Are you up on mute? Oh, looks like Mark might not be in yet. I'm sorry about that, everybody. Nick had a last minute thing, and so he was not able to do it. I'd also like to point out for the record, Nick Kritikos and a team of people have been, as you may know, showing up every morning at 10 a.m., 7 o'clock his time, and he chose the time to prepare for this summit. It is an astounding show of commitment to the work, and I think, again, just a lot of gratitude to Nick and everyone else. I mean, Andreas has been there. Mark Haddle's been there nearly every single day. Stefan's been there. Evan McMullen has been there ever since she got involved. Anais has been there. Just a ton of people, and I'm missing several, so I'm sorry if I've missed you. Gina's been there. Just getting ready for this thing, and in fact, we worked all weekend to set up the ability, and this is cool, for all 8 tracks of the event, which you can get to here, the Baseline Protocol Summit registration, which, by the way, went over 300 registrants. This morning, I started getting tweets from people saying I can't get in because it's sold out. This is the second time we've increased it in just a few days. And so now I don't know what what Oasis has set it to, but that's pretty amazing. 300 people, and we've been fairly vocal about how the primary registrant ought to be architect, engineer, product person, builders. So did a straw poll on that and found that about at least 20 to 40% of the registrants are, in fact, in that category. And others are interested in learning. So that's really good. There's, people, I think, understand that this is not a webinar. It's not going to be a bunch of speeches and fireside chats. It's going to be people identifying, arguing about, specifying, and architecting the next set of features and non-functional requirements for the roadmap, and ultimately to, at least in some cases, create submissions for the Baseline Protocol Hackathon 2020, which will begin in December. Any questions on that? Okay, so just to show I'm going to bring up there it is. This is the breakout session. This is the event show floor. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
Thanks, Anais. So I'll go to the RSVP page. You'll see right here, 67 RSVPs. Now, this isn't signups. There have been 300 signups, but 67 people have actually gotten into the +9. So, 76 people have gotten in, and actually, no, it's probably 67. It looks like it's additive. Have actually gone in and lit up the page. So you all are here, and you'll see, it's pretty simple. You'll go into participate now. You can read up on everything. Here are some rules, how to participate, frequently asked questions. And when you jump in, you're right into, here's the schedule. And I'll go into that in a little bit. Nick has been doing a lot. Nick and Anais did some analytics on who was signing up and what they were saying that when they could show up for different sessions. And so these I'll go into in a second. We're going to have 8 separate live streamed Zoom environments up for 30 hours from 10 a.m. on Friday morning to 4 p.m. or 5, I guess, on or the Thursday morning, and then 4 or 5 p.m. on Friday afternoon. That is to make sure that we have sort of an around the planet run. There are people in India, there are people in Singapore, there are people all over the place, and we don't even know where some of the others are coming from. It is, I don't want to. We've tried to manage the fact that, that's Reuven, those are all U.S. Eastern time zone times, right? So 10 a.m. U.S. Eastern. Did some research on what times to run the initial plenary, and 10 a.m. on Thursday seemed to be the least awful for the least amount of people. The other way around. So this is the opening plenary, which will start out at 10 a.m. It'll just be an hour or so, just to go over checkpoints, how things work, setting expectations, and taking people through the different breakouts, and making sure that everybody's really dialed into the idea of making every one of these breakouts an activity-based sort of thing, where each breakout is going through, let's build this, or let's generate this output, this content, this specification, or this issue that we will enter into a Gitcoin hackathon. Any questions so far? Okay, so so this is what it looks like, and you'll see that Dan Norkin. Dan, would you like to talk about your track for the education session?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, John. Yeah, so I guess if you click into the breakout one, content is still being crafted, everyone. But again, just like John said, it's working session / education type of session. We've all heard and seen the Radish 34 first reference implementation outside of the BRI 1 and 1.1 as well. And we thought that it would be interesting to have it in a hands-on type of a fashion where we're provisioning the environment, having folks be able to log in through kind of like a guided hands-on tour as to what a application that is baselining would look like from start to finish, leveraging the Radish 34. Through that, what we're going to be able to do is really, showcase certain, I guess, if you will, checkpoints along the happy path, if you will, of the procurement type of use case. Thereby giving a little bit more context into the core interface work group, or the global phone book working group, or the product cookbook, etc. So as you go through this workshop, you're going to be able to see that, this is how it's presented. We are definitely looking to keep this in a workshop type of fashion. So any comments, suggestions on how we should be able to explain the baseline protocol, introduce the baseline protocol, graphics, words, messaging, so on and so forth. This is a place for us to work together on that. And as you start to go through this kind of hands-on lab, and there is going to be certain ideas that you have, we're going to send you to the right working session so that you can further that idea and then come and jump back into, experiencing baseline protocol to kind of get kind of like a high level holistic view.
Thanks, Dan. So that's the education track, and that'll be running the entire time, right?
We're still working that out. So potentially could be. Just need to do some fine tuning on that.
Right. And probably a good moment to say one of the coolest things is that because we're going to have effectively kind of a robo host running all of the Zooms, we will be able to run. We're going to be live casting those as long as the MacBooks that we've set up for this don't catch fire after some number of hours of continuous YouTube. I think we'll have at least 4 or maybe as many as 8 of the current Zooms running on MacBooks to all live streaming to Zoom for the entire session, so that there'll be a lot of dead air. Potentially, I mean, maybe not. Maybe people are active the whole way through, and people that break for dinner and go away, maybe go to bed. Other people will come in, and who knows? We don't. It's pretty early in any organization like this to be seeing. Well, certainly as many registrations as we already have for a standards operation, but also just in general. I mean, I think imagine what this is going to be like next year. So it still might be a little sparse, and that's okay because we're live streaming these all. So there might be like 2 or 3 or 4 people in a particular session talking about something, and people that come in hours later can scrub back and find those conversations, those live points. And we can also put those live points in the breakout notes right up top. So if you've been talking about something important, interesting that people that come in later want to know about or should know about, and that they can maybe play through at 2x speed on Zoom or on YouTube, we can put the link right there, and at the time frame of that live stream that would correspond to that time, to that conversation. So that's a pretty nice trick. Any questions on that? Okay, and I'm over on, did this deliberately. Kyle and folks, you want to talk about core interfaces? Breakout?
We can. I mean,
Please.
actually, can you come back to me? I need to do something real fast.
Not at all.
One
No
second.
problem.
Cool.
Evan, you there?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, guys. So we don't have too much visual aid here, fortunately, or unfortunately. A lot of our work in progress content is just that, work in progress. But I'm happy to speak about the Global Phonebook Project, which is a really exciting collaborative team representing folks from Consensus, from Microsoft, from every corner of the planet, and we're certainly welcoming more. And the intent of this conversation is for us to discuss how we want to approach the registry problem. So how do we want to think about the act of finding other organizations with which to baseline, about establishing those relationships, and then beyond that sort of search and secure, then thinking about what does an ecosystem of these existing relationships mean? What additional information, interfaces, interactions can we enable to make the baselining process even simpler? So if you are interested in exploring this global phone book, or the premise of how to find baselining partners and secure those relationships, we absolutely welcome everyone to join. I would also take this moment to pitch the global phone book Slack channel. I would invite a number of
Thank you.
a number of folks have already shared some great ideas, some awesome questions, requirements, and suggestions. So if you have any thoughts that you'd like to see discussed, please feel free to drop them in that Slack channel, and I'll put a note in here as well. But yeah, we're very much looking forward to this being a working session. Our intent is to frame up the challenge that we're facing together, to discuss it in a little greater detail, and then to start exploring what kinds of initial solutions could be possible and could be meaningful to this community. So understanding that we are, I certainly personally feel like I'm almost a bit of a newcomer to the excitement around Baseline. And so we've been really fortunate to feed off of the pre-existing conversations around the phone book to this point. And yeah, just very excited to build it moving forward.
Thanks so much, Evan. So that's the phone book project. We'll come back to core interfaces. There is another session, and by the way, this session is being looked at, but there are some folks who seem to be pretty passionate about this. The Baseline Protocol Product Cookbook. This session, is there anybody from that session on that would like to take this conversation?
Yeah, I'm on. I can give a brief overview of kind of what we're going for here. So, this session is still very much under discussion. We just had a meeting last week and we've made some progress on it. Basically, a summary of what we're doing. We're trying to help product teams add Baseline enabled features to their products. So the goal is to make adoption easier, and we can work toward that, with documentation and also with reference code. So people and applications, they need to understand how to interact with is Baseline attributes. So, we want to consider user experience. We want to consider practicality. And so we're having a session that at this point is kind of split into two general segments. One is business use cases and the next is developer use cases. And so we're trying to kind of delineate between what business focused individuals who kind of want to understand this better but are still technical need, and also just what developers themselves are looking for first. So we've already got a deck up and coming, and some new people have just joined. So this week will be our big week for progress.
Hey, Avia, that's terrific. And I just noticed that Glenn Scott from Intuit's on. I mean, that's the kind of company, I won't speak for them, but that's the kind of company. And by the way, Intuit, welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah, hey, there you are. Yeah, Glenn, you might want to reach out to Avia, and look into this particular session, because, I can imagine how cool would it be in some future point for, something like QuickBooks to, have user experience components that are lit up right there in front of their eyes that allow them to do.
I
Baseline
registered
stuff.
for the several sessions. I may be a bit overbooked. It's a bit like the kid in the candy store at this point, so we'll see.
Well, that's really the nice thing about this, is you can see kind of who's in different rooms. It's in a way even better than showing up at Moscone for the developer event or something, because you can literally see in real time who's in what rooms. You can jump into a private room or a semi-private room and that isn't being recorded and talk about stuff with just two people for as long as you like. And so it should be, we're really hoping, we're taking big risks here. I don't know that anybody's tried something just exactly the way we're doing this. There could be lots of dead air all over the place. We kind of expect it, but we hope that there's enough activity that 30 hours later we have real time spent doing real architecture and having those those arguments and discussions about which way to go. So the real question is, will people at this point in our maturity be at a point where this is close enough to and near and dear enough to their day jobs, to their livelihoods, to their interests, to their needs, that it's worth their time, and they're coming in respectfully, but with guns a-blazing, saying, hey, this is what I think, this is what I'd like to see happen here. And if that happens, we're going to be in great shape. Okay. So the scaling Baseline, this is Andreas Freund. Would you like to talk about this one?
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, John. So this track is about enabling or getting Baseline ready for mass adoption. And one of the key things here is to drive down. No, that's not the notes, John. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, actually, I think we're no, the notes as I think is right. Thank you. Sorry, was confused there for a second. The key thing here is to drive down transaction cost, primarily because $5 a transaction, if you have 100,000 of them is not a good value prop. So the key here is to ensure that we can drive down transaction cost and make sure that we can have 100,000, 1 million, 2 million businesses transact via the baseline protocol, because it is the least invasive with regard to internal IT infrastructure, the least invasive methods to use distributed ledger technology. So what we are focusing on is a set of, in order to do that, we're focusing on like 3 key questions that we need to answer, and they're outlined in the notes. John, if you want to scroll down a little bit.
Yep.
We will faithfully go through those questions with mind mapping and following along a high level stack architecture that will be there once Nick has switched out the diagrams and draw to diagrams.net. That would be awesome. And then there are also, as a preparation, there are references such as an evaluation framework that already has been developed, various references. If you want to scroll down, John, for a second. Why hasn't this been updated? I thought, can you switch them maybe to the instructions?
Sure.
Maybe
I've done that a couple of times. I've updated instructions instead of the notes.
Yes. Those are the instructions. Actually, thank you. That's the right one. I was like, I updated that. So this is what people will see if you actually can scroll up a little bit. Sorry about that. If you can scroll up further. Yes. So you can you see the you can see the timeline, and then scroll down a little bit. Sorry. When we're gonna tackle those questions, they're going to be a follow-up session on Friday if we need more time. And there are thank you. We have a clear goals and deliverables. If you can.
Yep, got it.
Scroll back up.
There you go.
That we want to achieve. No, that's a stretch goal. Thank you. So we want to clearly get a scaling approach selection evaluation criteria. So we don't want to say this is the right solution. What we want to give people and implementers on hand is these are the criteria you should consider when you're either developing a solution or when you're selecting a solution. And that is also what is the type of stack architecture, and then what's the smart contract architecture that supports a scaling solution. And out of that, we want to create a hackathon use case description utilizing the frameworks and extensions and update. And as a stretch goal, if we get there, is to talk about fully private transaction approach and architecture, which fully private means fully private plus audit backdoor. But that's
Andreas, can I cut you off there just to be mindful of time? This is obviously going to be a major track.
right.
It's got a lot packed into it, from zero knowledge to batching to L2s and all such related things. And let me, can I add, if you reached a stopping point, or would you like to finish up?
No, this is really so anybody who's interested, go through the instructions. Everything's there. By tomorrow, there'll also be sort of like the actual operating starting point in there, where we start from a high level architecture point of view, as well as from a mind mapping point of view, to address those 3 questions.
So I'd like to, again, as Evan pointed out earlier, there's a Slack channel on this. All of the Slack channels are predicated on, I don't suppose somebody could pull that up. Trying to find the, I've screwed, does somebody else have their Slack open? Because I've messed mine up and I can't see it from where I'm sitting without changing the screen. Can somebody identify the syntax for the Slack channels,
Yes.
please?
So if you're in the baseline Slack, there are public channels. They all start with the same moniker. It's BPS 2020. So, and you'll find all the tracks there, from the phone book to scaling, to the product cookbook, to the core interfaces, etc. So if you just click on channels and search, they will, if you put in BPS 2020, then that will get you there.
Also, here's the hashtag for, just as I'm thinking about it, 2020 baseline summit is the Twitter hashtag, right? Yes. So if you want, if folks want to be tweeting about this, please do. And the other thing I'd like to bring up right here is tomorrow morning at 10, hopefully all of the sort of ringleaders of these different tracks will be reporting out on kind of head counts, who's showing up, who are their core Maven groups. And I'll give a good example. Kirk here, Andreas, brought up a pretty interesting point about L2s. We don't have time to discuss it on this call, which is exactly the point of the summit. And the summit, we have time for you guys to argue about that for as many hours as you like. And we'll have fun watching that happen. Sounds like Kirk is somebody you would want to reach out to see if they can, if they're going to be sort of in the core Maven group of that particular subject.
Join anybody who's interested should join the Slack channel. I will put a call for help out with a social media tweet that actually went out yesterday to the 98 people who had expressed interest in the scaling workshop. In the
I think
first batch
Aztec
of
is going to try to
registrants.
come for part of this, although
Whoever will show up is
Yeah.
welcome. That would be awesome if they can, because then we can dig into fully private transactions. They have a great new framework called Noir for general prover services that allow scaling. So all good stuff. We'll all dig in. And this is going to be fun. It's going to be very, very interesting, very technical. Just to let everybody know. However, it has a clear business objective, which is bring a baseline transaction down to a very small fraction of a penny, and ensure that we can do billions of baseline, tens of billions of baseline transactions every year without blowing up any public chain.
Yeah, 10 billion looks like possibly the number, did some scratch math. 10 billion a day would be effectively within a zero or so of all of the B2B events that might need to be made verifiably consistent in the world. So if we can do 10 billion events a day, and that is actually not as far off as you might think. If you combine a couple of zeros in what I call fancy batching, plus a couple more zeros in ETH2, you're actually there. So unless my math is really, really wrong, I'm going to wait for Andreas to check that math.
And you don't need ETH2. I already said that.
Oh boy.
Okay.
All right. Any questions on that?
So circular.
Kyle, I heard you there. Do you want to talk about core interfaces? It's probably a pretty good moment.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the core interfaces track is going to give sort of an introduction, a deeper introduction around where the API contracts, messaging, persistence, privacy, and types packages live in the core, under the core, top level core protocol repo, in the repo. It's also going to show sort of the implementation, the initial implementation in BRI1 of each one of those packages. And so there'll be like sort of the ability to see how they're actually used and how you could implement them yourself, in the real world application.
If anybody missed that, I just demonstrated going from the environment to the repo entry. There'll be a repo entry, a master epic was what we call these, for every issue, or for every breakout. And the notes pad, by the way, people should think of as a scratch pad for ideas. People should be very comfortable coming in there and getting it messy. It's fine, because really the document of record is the issue in the GitHub repo. By the way, anybody that doesn't have and needs to have or wants to have the ability to control or to create and edit or assign epics and issues in the baseline roadmap repo here, please reach out to me on DM, Jay Wolpert on Slack DM. DM me with your GitHub ID, and I will add you to the SSC list that allows you to have write access to this. You can still go in and make comments. You just can't do a lot more. You can't sign anything. You can't create new ones. So if you want that, please, and all the organizers should have that. If you don't, please reach out to me. So yes, and by the way, Kyle, I know that you guys have got a bunch of stuff offline for these major topics, which are just listed them here: message formats, persistence, CK, and some new features. This is I think by far and away the most packed in section. There are, if I go to the schedule, you'll see things kind of starting off your core interfaces, message formats. So there's time. What we've done here in this view, Nick did, and Anais, is to sort of heat map where action might be occurring. And what we will do by the time of the summit is identify real kind of kickoff times where people really are, especially going to be on alert to be in there. So you see this green item. That means that the persistence layer for core interfaces will be discussed at 9 a.m. on Friday. We made one kind of very embarrassing mistake when we were doing the sign up on Eventbrite. We did not have people indicate their interest in attending sessions or tracks in this set of time, basically middle of the night, US or Europe. And so that was a mistake, and we regret that mistake. But that's why we don't have a lot in here. But I expect that there's several people already that are planning on lighting up that time frame in India and Singapore, elsewhere. So apologies again. So I hope that makes sense. Please, this would be a good time for a question if anybody has a question about this, because I don't know that it's exactly clear. All right. I guess it's exactly clear. Right. So yeah, Kyle, if you guys could put more into the core interface docs and into that Epic by tomorrow, that'd be super good.
Do that, and there's some slides on the BRI1 tab within that on the top there.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, slides, great.
So there'll be some good content in here tomorrow as well for each one of the topics, and just to give some context around where to find each of those things in the BRI1 example. So that'll be good too.
Oh, that's sweet. That's perfect. And also, if I can suggest, you guys, this is a great example of an opportunity for the maintainer team in particular to start linking up this master epic, right, with additional issues that may come from the baseline repo, and so you could be creating those issues.
Yeah, I'll do some grooming in GitHub as well around that.
Yeah, and I'll so that'd be a great thing for you guys to make as an activity, is effectively issue grooming and getting that together. And I'm going to use this moment to pivot to a different point, which is the Baseline Hackathon, December 2020. We have funded it, I think, as people know. I'm officially asking now if any company or individual wishes to sponsor, or not sponsor, but fund a challenge in the form of a bounty. We've learned now that the Gitcoin hackathons are quite easily set up for anybody to do that. So we have funded quite a large number already, so that nobody has to worry about the hackathon not being funded with the overheads required, and with certainly a minimum number of bounties in December. But so for example, the project, or the core, you could create an issue, add it here, which is fairly straightforward. And then people, as they join, I see I'm not logged in, so I probably won't have much more access than this right now. I won't waste your time, but you can then go in and connect that issue and bounty it. And we will be selecting, at least 6, 7, 8 bounties that we've got covered. And then you're welcome to do more. So any of the companies here, you could say, hey, I'll bounty this issue on my platform. That'd be a perfectly legitimate thing to do. Yeah, let's see what we can run up, but it will be well funded regardless. So there's no pressure here. But if you guys have anybody has budget for that, terrific. Hey, Connor, thanks for the time. We'll see you. Connor, you've already dropped, haven't you? Okay, I'll take up the client question for Connor in a second. Any questions on that? It's a really important section. I wanted to make sure everybody understood. Looking at comments, seeing if there's any there. Dominic, let me pivot back to you on this. So if we can go back to the product cookbook, I'd like to point out, if anybody didn't know, that Dominic Style and his team released a pretty awesome demo and release. Dominic, are you there?
Yeah, I'm on. Can you hear me, John?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Fire away, Dom.
Excellent. So yeah, what we wanted to talk about during the session is some of the ways that we're thinking about baselining at the system of engagement layer. And I think one of the things that we wanted to do was, during the session, at least highlight some of the ways we did that on top of Salesforce through the release that we did. And these include kind of more no-code process builder ways of doing things, So kind of declaratively saying like, if this record meets these conditions, whether it's a checkbox or certain value, we would like to then have this record call out to the mainnet and baseline. And so I think what we like to do in the cookbook is essentially talk to some of the ways that we did this on the Salesforce platform, but in addition to that, how you could do this kind of repeatable ways to essentially baseline at the system of engagement layer, different application UIs. So that's what we'll add our part in this session as well.
Hey, Dom, that sounds really awesome. Thanks so much for talking about it. I think you're in our channel now, so I'll just message you. Yeah, but we would love to have that.
Okay, great. Yeah. I just joined the BPS 2020 product cookbook. I wasn't sure if that was the correct one, but yeah, it looks like that's the correct one.
Perfect.
Right on. I'm gonna we'll break our regularly scheduled programming here real quick to make sure we get time for Anais to talk about standards. We've made some great strides there, and also Anais, I think you're going to bring up the question of the tokenization session. So we'll skip to that one.
So in the tokenization and digital assets track, we'll be mostly working on how to convert a baseline off-chain record into a on-chain asset and the interactions between the off-chain record and that asset. So the key objective of the track is really to discuss the requirements for the off-chain record, the on-chain asset, and the tokenization process itself. So for the off-chain record requirements in the context of baseline, we will ask and explore if we can generalize and specify a set of required fields needed for the tokenization process. So really our first expected outcome here is a data model, or I should say part of the data model for a generic baseline record ready for tokenization. But we will also address metadata, authorization, permission on that record as well. For instance, if there are any parameters to provide access to the off-chain asset or off-chain record to the token owner. So those are the questions that we will explore. On the on-chain asset requirement side, we will really focus on what are the appropriate token standards that we could look at for possible implementation, and what are the privacy requirements in terms of token ownership privacy, asset attribute privacy, etc. On the tokenization process itself, we will really focus mostly on token deployment. So what are the steps, the technical options for implementations? So how to really ensure secure tokenization of baseline record. So the expected output for the track are the data model, the methods, and really implementation, high-level architecture diagram, for example. So yes, that's it on our side. So we are currently actually working on our PowerPoint, and this will be added as a tab. It's not there yet, but we are completing this within the next 24 hours. It should be done.
Thanks, Anais. Would you like to talk about the standards as well?
Yes, sure. So 2 weeks ago, I don't know if you remember, but we had reached a milestone by completing the review of the component and the high-level requirement of the protocol. And last week, we actually started the work on the API and data model specification. So we brainstormed and captured the component and the high-level requirement for the core interfaces, so messaging, org management, privacy, etc. And we also captured the requirement for the data model. So really what we started doing is documenting the entities, their attributes, and their relationships. So now I would say that we are in a very good position to start formulating detailed requirements for both core and API specifications. And I think during the summit, there will probably be very good input into what we should include or what we should explore or review on the standard and specification side. So I'm really looking forward to it. So some detailed requirements will be more straightforward than others. So next week, I think we will probably start addressing those. However, I'm aware that there is a lot of work happening on bigger items in parallel. So if you are interested in standard and specification work and joining us, it's once every 2 weeks, And so feel free to reach out to me on Slack and we can take it from there, because there are a lot of people on the call that are not part of the standard and specification call. So I'm making a call here. If you are interested, please don't hesitate.
Yes, and you should be, anyone that's interested, it should be aware that this is the one thing that we do restrict access to. And so anyone can be involved in standards and specifications work and be in the meetings that go over that every 2 weeks that Anais organizes, which we're very grateful for. But to get an invite to that, you have to have signed the ICLA or the ECLA. The ECLA is the company-wide CLA, and then you also, there's an individual sign an ICLA, or if you're just an individual, just an ICLA. And those are all, you actually automatically do that when you try to submit a pull request to the master branch or the main branch of the repo, GitHub repo. So if you do that, then you can get into that team and work on standards and specifications. You can also sign the ICLA manually without doing a pull request, just so you know. Anais, anything else on that?
No, nothing else on the standard and specification side.
Terrific. And I will say that in case we didn't mention it before, we have finally, at long last, solved the documentation system problem that we were having. I won't go into the details of that, but now, if you want to work on the documentation, which I'm showing here on the screen, you can do this, and all you need to do is go into the specification or the docs folder, which, by the way, the specifications folder is in, and you can change any doc in here and submit it, submit a pull request to the main branch. When that pull request is accepted by 3 maintainers, Anais being one of them now, and maintainers for specifications are allowed in the maintainers group, not just code maintainers, but also specifications maintainers, same group. 3 people will approve it, and then that will show up here. The change will show up on the website automatically. So that was a several months affair to try to get this right, so that anybody could make changes to docs without wondering if they were actually going to get merged. They are all set. So have at, please help improve the documentation. I think the docs are so important. And one other thing here, you'll notice that this folder, specs, which has all the things that Anais was just talking about, this is not reflected right now in the docs. And the reason is, and this is something anybody working on this is going to want to know, is that if you go into docs, you'll see a summary.md file, which is generated by the system Gitbook that we use to present the stuff on the web. And if you don't have the folder and the .md files referenced in here, so you want to make a change to this and submit that again, merge it to main. If you don't, then it won't show up in the docs, and if you do, it will. So you can, literally can create a new specifications header here on the left, and the .md files will show up on the right as you specify them. So just a quick primer on that. Any questions? All right, we're getting close to the end here. We didn't get through all of the sessions. Let's see what's left here. Got tokenization, got blockchain client support. So I'll just read off what Connor brought up. If you look in the notes in the chat, you'll see the roadmap number, epic number 143 is where you'll find details about the client support, effectively how Ethereum clients like excuse me, excuse me, like Nethermind, like Quorum, like Besu, and others can be improved or added to, or add things onto to support baselining. So that's another key track. Last comment, and then I guess we're done, is that all of these tracks we've worked really hard on. And yes, Alex, yeah, you should have credentials for KikoChat for the summit already. And if you don't, reach out to Nick Kritikos, and we are always putting out more credentials as people sign up. If you're a company, and I see Splunk's on here, I see Accenture's on here, I see so many companies that have services and technology and other things to feature in the baseline community for to achieve their objectives, their commercial objectives. There's nothing wrong with getting in here and creating another breakout on the fly during the summit and saying, oh, well, how would, let's create an issue that we can bounty about how you'd use Intuit in something, or Google in something, or Chainlink in something, or Unibright in something, or how would solutions providers like Accenture, you could create a bounty on that. Say, create a new solution idea that would involve Accenture. You could do that. So anybody here that wants to do something based on their company, plenty of room in this summit to do it. Just get people organized, get them excited, get them into a room. I think that is it. I'll just pause for a few seconds or a minute to see if there's anything left. Sam Bacha, did you want to talk very briefly about what's coming for EDI?
Yeah, appreciate it, John. So we now are actually able to generate the specific data types required for contracts to accept EDI transactions. Also, I have compiled a library of every EDI transaction set, I think, available. So that includes like medical images, X400 transaction sets for like governmental EDI transactions. It's pretty exhaustive. So if anyone has any questions on a transaction set that they don't see or is not available, let me know. And then we should have actually some actual interfaces for like the most basic EDI transactions, which are like acknowledgements. That will definitely be like a first class priority for usage. And then also we're working on integrating the registry contracts that are in the baseline repo to actually interface with trading channels for EDI transaction sets. So hopefully we'll be able to leverage the phone book for the registry for communicating with EDI partners. So that's a goal for like the first like actual use case for baselining. So
really excited to be seeing the drop of that code. Been looking forward to EDI work. I think like Oracle's EDI is going to be extremely relevant and important to baselining writ large going forward. So it's really great to see that you guys are pioneering that work and generalizing it so that it's not just about one platform or another, but for everybody. So we're looking forward to seeing that work drop in the coming weeks.
I'll put a message in the EDI channel with all the work that's published right now. Some of it's not exactly production ready, but it's a good first cut. So yeah.
Okay. Anybody else have any? Thank you, Sam. Does anybody else have any announcements to make before we drop? We are a minute or two over time, but happy to keep it open for a sec. All right, we got through it all. See everybody at the summit, and thanks for the time today. It's going to be a big week and a big couple of months for Baseline and for Ethereum in general, of course, and for all sorts of blockchain stuff. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Thanks, John.